The Emerald Throne Room always echoed with careful voices, but on this gray morning the whispers grew louder than ever. Palace servants tiptoed between tall crystal pillars, trading excited glances. Every corner guard leaned closer to the gossip. They spoke of a single word that felt older than the marble beneath their feet: human. The story said a human of legend would appear when the kingdom's great star began to dim. Few believed it in full, yet hope is a powerful seed, and it had started to sprout in every anxious heart. The alien queen. Lyrina sat straight on her throne while sunlight from the high windows scattered emerald patterns across her silver robes. Lyrina's violet eyes followed the quiet commotion. Though her people called her calm and wise, worry pressed on her chest like unseen armor. Reports told her that distant solar readings were falling faster than predicted, the sun that fed her. Empire's crops would fade in a single generation. The council had argued for months, yet no engineer or scholar found a real solution. Now, suddenly, a rumor about an off-world visitor swept through the palace like a fresh wind. 2 palace scholars hurried toward the throne, each holding old Hala slates. They bowed, their tendrils curling in nervous loops. "Your Radiance." One began, "Doc, authorities have confirmed the arrival of a cargo pilot called Eli." He tapped a control, and a light image shimmered in the air. A human standing beside stacked crates. A calm smile on his face, plain clothes, dusty from travel. "Half the dock workers swear he matches the ancient depictions drawn in the star vaults," the scholar continued. "His arm bears a mark similar to the crest carved above your throne." Lyrina glanced up at the crest, a spiral sun wrapped in 2 wings. Legend claimed the human hero long ago had carried that symbol, guiding lost fleets through dark space. She folded her long fingers together. "Facts, not dreams," she said. "Send a discreet team. Do not alarm him. Observe. Confirm then. Bring him to me if the signs remain." Her voice was gentle, yet every guard recognized the silent command. "Obey swiftly." Revealed nothing. Beyond the palace, the capital city buzzed. Slender towers of green glass stretched toward a pink-gold sky, while wide canals shimmered between marketplaces. Cargo pilot Eli walked a narrow bridge, carrying a small lockbox of repair parts on one shoulder. After months of deep space runs, he craved a hot meal and a quiet bed. The planet was beautiful, but he felt the usual tingle of being watched, something every spacer learned to trust. Still, he kept moving, nodding politely to merchants and children who stared with bright, curious eyes. They rarely saw humans this. Far out, he supposed, an invisible net of palace agents tightened around him. Across the street, a guard in plain clothes pretended to study fruit prices. "1, please," he said. The vendor, wearing a patchwork coat, smiled wide and slipped an extra bun into the bag. "Welcome, traveler," she said. "They say humans bring good fortune." Eli chuckled. "Well, I'll try." The vendor's eyes sparkled, like she wanted to ask him more. But a sudden cough from a nearby official cut her curiosity short. Meanwhile, deep within the palace library, senior historian Veros unsealed a crystal cylinder older than the empire itself. Dust swirled in god rays of light. Inside lay an inked star map and a single bracelet made of unknown metal. Veros compared the crest on the bracelet with the Hala image of Eli's arm symbol. Lines aligned, shapes matched. His pulse quickened. Prophecy or not, the similarity was striking. He hurried to prepare a full report for the queen. Back in the city, 2 disguised bodyguards closed the distance behind Eli. The taller one raised a wrist communicator to call for an extraction skimmer, but a busy street parade cut them off. Dancers twirled in flowing ribbons to celebrate the season of renewal. Colorful confetti filled the air and drums pounded a steady rhythm. Eli stepped aside, smiling at the festival energy. He had seen 100 worlds, each with their own culture, yet joy always looked the same. He bit into his bun, savoring the soft bread and sweet herbs. Across the plaza, Guard Captain Mira watched from a balcony. Unlike other nobles, she wore minimal decoration, trusting her skill more than symbols. Mira had served Lyrina since her first coronation cycle and valued precision. She spotted her agent's slowed progress and sighed. Parade timing could not be worse, she murmured. Still, her sharp eyes tracked Eli's relaxed posture, his balanced stance. The way he scanned exits, discreetly signs of training beyond a normal pilot. Interesting, she thought. Confetti drifted down like colorful snow. Children surrounded Eli, asking where he came from. He knelt to answer, pointing up at distant trade lanes where freighters glimmered like faint stars. Laughter followed. Yet, across the crowd, a robed noble watched with cold calculation. Lord Rollin, known for secret ambitions, had overheard the human rumor before breakfast. If a living legend existed, Rollin wanted him under his control, not the Queen's, he whispered. To an attendant who slipped away toward hidden couriers as afternoon light stretched into warm gold, the parade ended. Shoppers dispersed, streets cleared, and palace agents finally stepped forward. Forgive the interruption, one said, bowing respectfully. Honored visitor, the royal house invites you. We will ensure your cargo is safe. Eli raised a brow. He preferred straightforward deals, but something in the agent's polite tone, mixed with a hint of urgency, told him refusal might cause more trouble. He shrugged, keeping his voice calm. Lead the way. A sleek grav carriage slid from an alley, doors opening with a soft chime. Inside, translucent screens displayed gentle landscapes in soothing blues and greens. An attempt, perhaps two. Relax, guests, Eli sat, noticing faint magnetic restraints hidden in the seat frame. He chose not to comment. The city's towers blurred past as they headed toward the palace. Overhead, the sun lingered weakly, its edges less bright than normal. Stars of its class. He had studied charts. Indeed, this system's star was aging faster than models predicted. In the throne room, Lorena listened to historian Veros present his findings. Each match between the crest and Eli's symbol tightened the thread of possibility. She needed evidence that breathed, not artifacts alone. Escort him through the moonlit hall, she ordered, choosing a path lined with murals of past heroes. But let him walk freely. Chains will break trust before it forms. The palace doors parted, bathing Eli in gentle silver light. High ceilings arched above, painted with galaxies and proud explorers. His boots echoed on polished stone. A hush fell over every attendant, as if history itself was tiptoeing around him. Eli felt the weight of countless eyes, yet kept steady breaths. Nice place, he whispered. The guard beside him almost smiled. At the far end stood the Queen. Regal, yet humanly anxious, though only her closest advisors saw her tremble. Light glinted off the sun-winged crest above her throne. As Eli drew closer, he saw the same symbol shimmer on his own arm, glowing faintly through his sleeve like waking fireflies. Whispers rose among the court. Questions tangled with hope, Lorena. Rose, voice soft but firm. Traveler, she said, our records speak of a human who appears when darkness threatens. You carry a mark linked to our oldest songs. I ask you plainly, what is your name, and from where do you come? Eli bowed slightly. Name's Eli, he said, keeping his tone respectful. I'm just a pilot delivering parts, but it looks like fate has other ideas. The Queen's eyes searched his face. Behind her calm mask, a mixture of fear and wonder stirred. The legend had walked out of bedtime stories and into her hall lore. Perhaps it was only a stranger, with an unusual. Either way, destiny had begun to move, and every soul in the palace felt the first silent shift of its weight. The palace scientists worked through the night after Eli's arrival, setting up soft lights and gentle scanners in a round chamber of white stone. Eli sat on a low couch, hands resting on his knees, trying to stay calm, while silver instruments hummed around him. Every technician spoke in hushed tones, afraid to disturb the fragile mood that hung in the air. They measured his heartbeat, his neural waves, even the faint glow of the mark on his arm. Each time a screen flashed strange numbers, the scholars exchanged wide-eyed looks. No record in their archives showed readings like these, not for any species. Outside the chamber, Queen Lorena watched through a clear panel. Her violet eyes held both relief and worry. Proof seemed to grow stronger with every test, yet she feared what that proof might mean. Destiny could lift a kingdom, but it could also crush one. Guard Captain Myra stood at her side, arms folded. "He has not complained once," Myra observed. "That shows discipline." Lorena nodded. "Or resignation," she whispered. "Either way, we must treat him with respect." Inside, Eli studied the queen behind the panel, seeing the faint outline of her delicate crown. He wished for a simple cargo run, not royal attention, but he knew how to read a situation. If these people believed in legends, he would not mock them. Still, he doubted he was anything special. A childhood accident had left the spiral mark on his arm. At least that was his memory. Why did it match their crests so perfectly? He breathed slow, centering his thoughts the way old flight instructors had taught him. After hours of quiet tests, the lead scientist, a tall figure named Ilvar, approached. "We are finished for now," Ilvar said. "Please follow me." Eli rose a little stiff and stepped into a corridor lined with soft blue crystals. Lorena met him there, dismissing the scholars with a wave. "You must be tired," she said. "Rooms have been prepared." Eli shrugged. "I've slept on worse." Her lips curved in a small smile, but her eyes stayed serious. "Tomorrow, I would like to speak with you privately," he nodded. Knowing refusal would only delay that talk. As he walked with two quiet guards, he failed to notice another set of footsteps hiding in shadow. Lord Raylan's agent, cloaked in gray, followed at a distance, marking turns and security points. Rollin refused to let the queen keep the legend to herself. Power belonged to those bold enough to seize it, he believed. Before dawn, secret messages would leave the city, calling mercenaries from loyal outer houses. Meanwhile, in her study, Lorena read the historian's full report once more. The old prophecy spoke of a human who carries the sun in his palm. She looked again at a painting of the ancient hero activating a glowing device to guide lost fleets. Hope warmed her chest, but fear cooled it just as quickly. What if the prophecy was incomplete? What if the legend brought not salvation, but great change that the Empire could not control? She closed her eyes, breathing slowly, and decided on a new course. She would test Eli's heart, not just his body. Morning arrived with pale gold light. The palace gardens shimmered under dew and faint birdsong. Eli awoke in a guest suite more luxurious than any spacer hostel he had known. A servant offered breakfast, soft fruit slices, sweet bread, and spiced tea. He thanked her, then ate while staring out a tall window at distant spires. Clouds drifted across the dimming sun, making its edges flicker. He remembered engineering reports on unstable stars once they crossed a point of no return. Nothing short of a miracle could reignite them. Maybe that was why these people clung to old myths. Soon Queen Lorena herself collected him. She wore simple travel robes of gray and silver, leaving behind the heavy crown. "Walk with me," she said. They entered a seldom-used corridor that sloped downward, lit only by lanterns holding gentle bioluminescent plants. The guards stayed at a respectful distance. "This passage leads to the moonlit hall," she explained. "Few know it exists. In older times, rulers came here to speak truth without the weight of ceremony." Eli nodded, fingers brushing the cool stone walls. The hall opened into a circular room with a high glass dome. Soft silver beams filtered in, creating a calm twilight. At the center stood a pedestal, cradling an orb made of layered crystal. Pale light pulsed inside like a tiny heart. Lorena approached, fingertips floating above the surface. "This is the lucent shard," she said. "Our ancestors used it to judge intention. Shines brightest when touched by one whose spirit seeks to heal, not to harm." She turned, eyes searching Eli's. "Will you place your hand upon it?" Eli paused. Part of him wanted to refuse. Legends and magic orbs were well outside his cargo manuals. Yet another part, the one that loved unknown stars and hidden doors, pushed forward. He stepped up, steady breath, and let his palm rest on the cool crystal. At first, nothing. Then light flared inside, brighter still, until it filled the hall with a warm glow like dawn after a long night. Gasps sounded from the few guards watching. One guard fell to a knee in respect. Lyrena single quotes his throat tightened. "It is true," she whispered. But Eli felt only a strange peace in his chest, as if the orb had skimmed the surface of his soul and decided he was good enough. When the light faded, the orb looked ordinary again. He removed his hand, turning to the queen. "Satisfied?" he asked, half teasing. Lyrena exhaled, relief softening her posture. "More questions remain," she admitted, "but my faith grows." Above them, high sensors recorded the surge, and palace systems flagged the data. Unfortunately, the same feed reached hidden taps paid for by Lord Rollin. Within an hour, Raylan's private chamber buzzed with urgency. The orb confirmed him. His aide reported, "The Queen will claim him soon." Raylan's pale eyes narrowed. "Then we must act now. Prepare the Shadow Guard. If the legend is real, I will wield his power, not Lyrena." Back in the moonlit hall, Lyrena led Eli to a stone bench. They sat, voices low. She told him of the Empire's early days, when explorers recorded glimpses of humans helping lost ships. Some argued it was simple kindness, she said. Others believed it signaled a bond between species deeper than trade. Eli listened, fingers tracing the mark on his arm. He confessed his ordinary upbringing, his freighter routes, his surprise at all this. "No savior," he said softly. "Just a pilot who tries to do the right thing when he can." Lyrena smiled, gentle and sad. "Perhaps that is exactly what a legend should be. A person who simply chooses good, again and again." She stood, offering her hand. "Come, there is one more place I wish to show you." They exited the hall, walking through a quiet orchard where silver leaves brushed their shoulders. Overhead, a single star blinked irregularly, a sign of the sun's failing heart. Lyrena pointed. "Ah. Astronomers believe we have 2 decades before crops fail." She faced him, hope warring with fear. "Will you help us seek an answer?" Eli met her gaze. He thought of colonies he had visited, where cooperation meant survival. He thought of children in the parade, laughing at the sky. Finally, he said, "I'll try." Lyrena did not cheer, nor did drums sound. Yet, in that simple promise, she found strength. Unseen, a spy drone tracked them, sending exact coordinates to Raylan's mercenaries waiting beyond the city walls. As dusk rolled in, small strike crafts lifted off, cloaked by jamming fields. Their orders were clear. Seize the human, eliminate resistance, deliver him to Rollin before sunrise. Destiny, it seemed, had more than one road, and not all of them began with gentle light. Back in the palace, Captain Myra inspected night patrols. She sensed the shift in the wind, though alarms remained silent. Touching her earpiece, she murmured, "Double the guards at the Queen's quarters and the guest suite. Trouble is coming." Within minutes, loyal soldiers moved into new positions. Eli retired to his suite again, unaware of shadow plans forming. He stared at the dimming sun through his window and wondered if legends were ever just one person's path, or if they were written by the choices of many. His hand rested over the glowing mark, feeling its soft warmth pulse like a distant drum. Night settled over the palace like a silent cloak, and lanterns along the marble corridors gave off soft blue light. Somewhere beyond the outer walls, insects hummed, their gentle chorus hiding the sound of danger moving closer. Most servants had retired, leaving only guards at their posts. Even the great halls felt smaller, as if the building itself was holding its breath. In his guest suite near the eastern tower, Eli stood at the wide window and watched the dimming sun sink behind distant peaks. He was trying to decide whether this place needed a legend or simply someone who would not walk away when things grew hard. He had changed into plain sleep clothes, but part of him stayed alert, the way pilots did on long shifts. His thoughts drifted to the Queen's question in the moonlit hall. "Will you help us seek an answer?" It said yes, yet he still wondered what answer he could possibly give. The mark on his arm pulsed again, faint but steady, like it sensed the weight of the night. Outside the glass, 2 small lights blinked and vanished. Eli frowned. Normal patrol drones followed predictable patterns. These lights had moved too quickly and silently. In the central barracks, Captain Mira reviewed the latest patrol map. She trusted her instincts, and they now screamed of danger. She traced fresh guard positions on a holotable, then tapped her come bead. Squad 3, take the garden wall. Squad 5, shift to the eastern tower. Keep watch for cloaked craft. I suspect a strike team will come from that side. Her voice was calm, but soldiers heard iron beneath it and moved without question, unaware of Mira's preparations. Lord Raylan's mercenaries descended through the thin clouds. Their ships were small, coated with dampening panels that bent. Light. 6 craft took formation, each carrying 2 attackers, sleek, lizard-like warriors trained for quiet abductions. Their orders were clear. Capture the human. Do not harm him. Eliminate anyone who stood in the way. On a private channel, the lead pilot murmured, "Target window is open." Palace defenses remained passive. They glided toward the eastern tower balcony like dark birds hunting at dusk inside Eli's suite. A low chirp issued from his datapad, an automated alert he had programmed long ago to detect unusual energy pulses nearby. He stepped to the desk, checked the screen, and saw unfamiliar signatures gathering above the palace. He grabbed his jacket and the small lockbox he always kept close, then pressed the wall-com. A gentle tone replied. "Guard post," came a sleepy voice. "All calm?" Eli asked, keeping his tone easy. "Yes," honored the guard's answer, cut off and static. That was enough for Eli. He headed for the door before he could open. It slid aside by remote command. Captain Mira stood there, armored and ready, 2 loyal soldiers behind her. "Good," she said, spotting Eli's prepared stance. "Trouble has landed. Follow us." She handed him a slim stun baton. Non-lethal. Set to repel? He accepted, surprised by its balanced weight. "Any plan?" he asked.
"Ass! Keep you alive," she replied.
They moved into the corridor, boots soft on the carpet, lanterns casting shifting shadows above. The balcony doors shattered inward as mercenaries breached the suite. Finding it empty, they hissed in frustration and signaled their commander. Then they swept into the hall, sensors scanning for life signs. The first pair took the left passage just as Mira's group turned a corner. Mira flicked her wrist. Lights snapped to red alert. "Contact," she warned. Soldiers raised pulse shields, and a brief clash erupted. Bright blue arcs from stunned darts flashed, and shouts echoed. Eli kept slightly behind, saw one mercenary leap forward, blade drawn. Old reflexes stirred. Eli ducked and swung the baton across the attacker's wrist, disarming him. The weapon clattered, and Myra's guard hit the mercenary with a stun charge, dropping him harmlessly. They pressed on, aiming for servant tunnels that connected to the royal chambers. Mira updated the Queen on encrypted channel. "Hostile force confirmed, heading your direction, moving the guest to you." Lorena answered faintly, her voice steady. "I am in the Starlight Archive. Proceed." The Starlight Archive lay deep. Beneath the throne hall, a secure sanctuary of history and emergency command hubs. Mira knew the route, but also knew the mercenaries could block exits. Loud crashes behind them signaled more intruders. "Door seal," Myra ordered, and a guard slapped a panel, dropping a thick gate. It would delay pursuit, but not forever. They hurried into a narrow staircase spiraling downward. Lanterns flickered. Eli asked, "How many attackers?" "Least a dozen, maybe more," Mira said. "Someone spent well to hire them." Eli understood. "Rollin?" He tightened his grip on the baton and kept pace. At the base of the stairs they reached a stone door etched with swirling suns. The guard keyed. A code, but red lights flashed lock overridden from the outside. "They're ahead," she cursed. No time to find another path. Mercenaries burst the door from within, blocking their descent with crossblades and sonic rifles. Eli counted 6. Mira whispered, "Shield line." Her 2 soldiers stepped forward, shields raised, absorbing first sonic bursts that vibrated. The air walls cracked under the force. Eli felt the thrum in his teeth. Mira leaped between shield gaps, moving like liquid steel. Her blade hummed, slicing through rifle stocks before non-lethal charge could fire. Eli followed her example on a flanking mercenary, baton humming. The attacker parried once, but Eli stepped inside the guard, using the baton to hook the enemy's ankle and yank. The mercenary fell, stunned by a quick jolt. Behind him, a guard disarmed another foe. Sonic rifles hit the floor silent. When the dust cleared, 5 mercenaries lay subdued. One slithered back, clutching a wounded arm, and activated a cum bead. "Fallback point Delta," he hissed, before a guard stunned him fully. Mira exhaled. "Good work," she told her team, nodding at Eli with new respect. "I've been in a few boarding brawls," he said, half-smile. "The door now safe." They entered the Starlight Archive, a vast chamber lined with crystalline tablets glowing in gentle blue. At its center, Queen Lorena stood before a hollow map of the kingdoms, star systems, advisors nearby. She turned, relief flickering when she saw Eli unharmed. "Captain Lorena began status." "Enemy infiltration contained for now," Mira said, "but more may be coming." "I suggest relocating to the emergency lift." Lorena nodded, then faced Eli. "These attackers seek you. They believe taking you will control the legend. I will not allow that." Eli looked around the archive, felt sacred, echoes of countless histories humming from the walls. One tablet on a pedestal drew him. It displayed the same spiral suncrest, surrounded by text in ancient script. Drawn by instinct, he approached. Words shifted into common language, reacting to his presence. Liarina and the scholars watched. With astonishment, the tablet projected an image of a distant orbital structure. The ancient forge spoken of in myths, rumored to hold the heart of dawn. "A relic to restore dying stars," a scholar whispered. "We thought this location lost." Eli felt warmth inside his chest. "We have a path," he said. "But we need to leave the palace to reach it, and those mercs won't quit." Lorena stepped closer. "Then we must leave at once, while Captain Myra holds the palace." Myra shook her head. "I go with you, Your Radiance. My lieutenants can guard the palace. The forge journey will be perilous." Alarms echoed through the stone, signaling more breaches. Lorena gathered a small bundle of scroll-chip star maps, and Codzan placed them in a travel case. She addressed her advisors. "Maintain order. Protect our people," they bowed, determined. Then she, Eli, and Mira crossed the archive to an old service lift. Gears groaned as it descended into a hidden mag-rail tunnel beneath the city. Behind them, distant explosions rattled the palace. Lord Raylan's voice barked over. "Mercenary channels. The Queen is escaping with the human intercept before they reach orbit." But fortune favored speed. The mag-rail shot forward, lights flashing past. Inside the narrow cabin, Eli glanced at the Queen. "Are you sure?" he asked. "I am," Lorena answered, steady. "The forge may be our last chance. And if legend chooses, it must do so freely." Myra checked her blade charge, then gave Eli a nod. "Let's live through this. There's a sun waiting." As the rail sped toward a secret launch site, the trio felt the shifting balance of fate, one track of destiny chosen over another. Above ground, the palace still shook with conflict, but in the dark tunnel a spark of hope burned. And far off, in the silent void of space, the ancient forge waited, lights dim, yet ready to greet a human's hand once again. The hidden mag-rail hissed to a stop deep beneath an abandoned hangar outside the capital city. Dust floated in dim yellow beams that slipped through broken skylights, and the air smelled of old metal. Eli, Queen Lorena, and Captain Mira stepped from the narrow cabin, weapons ready. Their boots echoed on cracked floor panels while auto lights flickered to life one by one, revealing a forgotten shuttle's leak, silver, and just big enough for a small crew. It rested on a launch cradle like a sleeping bird waiting for dawn. Mira moved first, scanning corners for threats. "Clear for now," she called. Lirina traced a finger along the shuttle's hull. "This craft was decommissioned before my reign," she said quietly. "Its engines run silent to avoid detection." Eli nodded, running a hand through his short hair. "Silent is good. Raylan's men won't stop hunting." He opened the lockbox he had carried since landing. Inside lay a simple datapad spare. Parts and a folded patch from his first freighter jab reminders of ordinary life. Now, ordinary felt far away. They hurried up the boarding ramp. Dusty control panels greeted them, but systems still held a faint hum. Eli settled into the pilot seat, fingers skimming across ancient alien script. Luckily, flight icons look similar on most ships. He powered the reactors. Soft blue lights pulsed through conduits like quiet heartbeats. Lorena took the co-pilot chair, her eyes reflecting screens full of star charts. Mira strapped into a rear seat, rifle across her lap, eyes on the hatch. Outside, sirens wailed in the distant city. Myra's cum crackled. Pallas 2 Captain enemy craft, lifting from the eastern quarter. Pursuit likely within 5 minutes. Mira answered, "Understood. Maintain Pallas defense. We'll draw them off." She cut the channel. "We need to go." Now Eli engaged vertical thrusters. The hangar roof parted, rusty panels grinding aside to reveal a sky painted with fading twilight. The shuttle rose, its engines a little more, then a whisper. The moment they cleared the roof, 3 black pursuit ships appeared on scanners. Raylan's mercenaries. "They're fast," Eli muttered, "but short range." He pushed the throttle. The shuttle streaked upward, skimming cloud layers that glowed orange and purple beyond the failing sun. Sonic booms thundered behind them as the enemy accelerated. Green tracer fire cutting the sky. Eli banked sharply, letting shots slip past. Mira locked a rear turret to manual control and returned fire with bright pulses that forced the attackers to dodge. The shuttle soared higher. Atmosphere thinning, stars brightening above. But the pursuit ships followed, engines flashing fierce. "Red. They'll try to disable our hull," Liorena warned. Eli adjusted course toward a debris field of old satellites, hoping clutter would slow their hunters. Shards of metal glinted like frozen rain. Eli weaved through, left, right, sometimes rolling as satellites tumbled by. One mercenary ship clipped a broken antenna and spun out, sparks trailing, engines failing. The other 2 pressed on, but distance grew. "Exiting gravity well," Eli announced. The shuttle shuddered as its hyperdrive spun up, course locked on ancient forge waypoint. He glanced at Lorena. She gave a quick nod, her face composed, yet eyes shining with determination. Engines roared, and space elongated into a tunnel of blue-white streaks. The stars vanished. The shuttle jumped to faster than light speed, leaving pursuers behind. Inside, silence settled. Mira unstrapped, stretching sore shoulders. "Good flying," she said. Eli exhaled a long breath, adrenaline easing. "Thanks," Lorena studied. A glowing map projected in midair. "The forge orbits a dead moon beyond the outer rim," she said. "Our archives note defensive drones from ancient times. They may still operate." Mira checked her rifle battery. "Then we'll have to land quickly." Hours passed in hyperspace. Eli set autopilot, then explored the cargo hold. Rows of sealed crates lined the walls, some marked in faded glyphs. Opening one, he found service drones folded like silver insects. "Could help with repairs," he mused. Lorena joined him, hands clasped behind her back. "These were last used during the first expansion age," she said. "Our ancestors believed the forge must always be reachable. Yet over time, they forgot why." She touched a crate gently, sorrow in her gaze. Eli leaned against a support beam. "My people forget things too," he said. "History turns into stories into myths. But sometimes myths are true enough to save us." Lorena smiled softly. "Perhaps that is why the orb chose you." They shared quiet understanding before returning to the cockpit. A sharp tone woke Mira from a half-doze. Proximity alarm. Hyperspace tunnel collapsed into normal stars as the shuttle dropped out near a ringed gas giant. Beyond its pale rings glimmered a small moongray, cracked and cloaked in shadows. Above the moon floated the ancient forge, a vast lattice of metal and glass stretching like a spider web. Faint lights flickered along its spine, hinting at slumbering power. "There. It is," Lorena whispered. Eli angled the shuttle toward a docking spine. "Any sign of drones?" Myra checked sensors. Multiple heat traces stirring looks like they noticed us. Yellow icons blinked on the screen, converging fast. The drones were small, spherical, with twin laser emitters. Old tech yet still. Lethal. No welcome mat, Eli muttered. He rolled the shuttle as beams lanced out, grazing shields with sizzling bursts. Alarms flared. Shields at 70%, Lyrina reported. We can't shoot back without wasting energy, Mira said. We need a passcode or something. Lyrina's face lit with sudden memory. She reached into her coat pocket, pulling a tiny crystal key taken from the Starlight archive. The Star Singer's encoded failsafes, she whispered. She slotted the crystal into the nav console. Symbols flooded screens, and a deep tone resonated through the hull. Outside, drones halted mid-attack, lenses blinking blue. They formed an escort pattern, guiding the shuttle toward an open bay. Eli released a breath. Nice save. Lyrina's shoulders relaxed. Ancient trust still lives. The shuttle glided through a shimmering field and settled on a silent platform inside a cavernous dock. Metal gantries creaked under their weight. Soft lights flickered on, revealing echoing archways leading deeper. Helmets? Mira asked, checking atmosphere readings. Oxygen acceptable. Trace ozone, Eli said. We'll carry rebreathers just in case. They donned small mouthpieces and descended the ramp. The dock smelled of coal dust and old. Circuits, in every direction, stood towering machines, dormant yet humming faintly like giant hearts in sleep. A central corridor beckoned, lined with glowing lines that brightened when they stepped near, as if greeting them. Eli felt the mark on his arm grow warm again. It knows you, Lyrina, observed softly. They advanced. Sudden noise echoed behind metal. Clanging, Myra spun, rifle raised, but it was only a drone placing a sealing clamp on the shuttle, securing it safely. She eased. Good little sphere. Deeper in, they reached a vast chamber where a crystal engine core hung within magnetic. Rings dark, except for a tiny ember at its heart. Runes circled the rings, and inlaid panels formed a control path leading to a raised plinth. Lone interface floated there, shaped for human hands. Eli swallowed. Looks like my stop. Aliena stepped beside him. The relic, the heart of Dawn, rests inside that core. Records say only a chosen human can link with it. Eli managed a shaky grin. Chosen or not, I'll do my best. Myra activated perimeter scanners. I'll guard the entrance. You focus. Eli climbed narrow steps to the plinth. The interface glowed, showing spiral patterns matching his arm crest. He placed both hands on cool glass. Warmth surged through. His body and memories, not his own, flashed images of ancient human explorers forging alliances, guiding dying worlds toward renewal. Energy poured from the core's ember, flowing through cables toward reactors buried in the forge's lattice. Outside the window, the gas giant's rings shimmered brighter as power flared. Alarms blared on Mira's wrist, Displanew contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Raylan's flagship and escorts arrived, weapons hot. Queen, we've got company, she warned. Lyrina's eyes hardened. Defense drones will delay them, but not forever. She looked to Eli, surrounded by swirling light. The forge was awakening, yet process bars crawled slowly. They would need time. Rollin would not grant willingly. Above the moon, battle lines drew tight. Below, in the heart of the forge, a human of legend wrestled with power beyond anything he had known. Whether myth or man, his choices in the next moments would shape the fate of a kingdom and, perhaps, the galaxy under a dimming sun. The forge's metal lattice glows with 1,000 tiny sparks as power lines wake for the first time in centuries. Deep inside the main core chamber, Eli stands on the raised plinth, hands pressed to the crystal interface. Blue light climbs his arms like gentle rivers, then flows outward into the giant magnetic rings that hold the heart of dawn. Each pulse shakes loose dust and makes the air hum, yet status bars on an overhead display creep forward much too slowly. The system demands more than simple touch, and wants full commitment of mind and spirit. Queen Lyrina watches from the lower platform, heart drumming in her chest. She can feel the forge listening to Eli, testing him, almost speaking in a language older than any found in the palace archives. Captain Myra paces near the entrance, visor screen showing red icons scattered across space outside. Raylan's flagship and 4 escort frigates have dropped from hyperspace and begun firing on the automated defense drones. Vivid flashes surge past the panoramic window, painting the chamber in bursts of white and orange. Time estimate. Mira calls up to Eli, keeping her voice steady. He shakes his head, concentration fierce. I'm linked, but the forge wants a deeper key. Like trying to start a ship when you only half remember the code. He closes his eyes, breathing slow. Memories flood his mind-old training flights, stories told by station elders, even the gentle laughter of children from yesterday's parade. Each scene carries a feeling. Protect, guide, nurture, adapt. The center of those feelings stands the glowing mark on his arm, pulsing with steadier rhythm. Outside, Raylan's flagship powers main cannons. He orders a narrow volley toward the forge's docking ring, forcing defense drones to intercept. Some drones explode, sending silent shrapnel. Spinning away. Tremor shakes the floor beneath Lorina's shoes. She grips a rail and gazes up at the heart of dawn, its embers still dim. We must trust him, she tells herself, though fear tries to creep in. She taps her wrist. Come, Palace Command. Confirm civilian shelters secure. A calm voice replies, secure your radiance. Morale rising as people see forge lights. Hope spreads among citizens watching from planetary telescopes. They know their queen fights for them. Meanwhile, Rollins strides across his flagship bridge, silver cape swaying. His tactical officer speaks. Our boarding craft are ready. Once shields drop, we will seize the human. Rollins nods, eyes cold. Bring me the legend, or what use are these myths? Back inside the forge, Myra's sensors show 2 escort ships breaking formation and diving toward the central docking bay. Boarding craft incoming, she warns. She raises her rifle and points to the corridor behind her. Auto turrets powered, Lorina activates an ancient control node. Mechanical clanks echo as wall panels open, revealing slim defense cannons whose lenses glow bright. They swivel toward the distant hangar tunnels. Myra smiles grimly. Old, but sharp. Eli feels the forge asking a question he cannot put into words. Why help? His answer must be more than spoken language. He pictures the Queen's exhausted determination, soft pride in Mira's steady nod, the laughing children who offered him paper ribbons. Because life is worth the effort, he whispers. The interface brightens, then floods the chamber with warm gold. Status bars leap to 70%. Magnetic rings rotate faster, and the heart of dawn's ember swells into a glowing sphere. A low melodic tone fills the air, like the distant song of whales. Alarms blare on Raylan's flagship. Energy readings spike from the forge. What is that thing doing? He shouts. Crease, fire overload those rings! Heavy rail cannons open up, hurling slugs toward a vulnerable power conduit. Several impacts crackle across the forge's shield, which flickers under stress. Inside, shocks buzz through the floor. One crystal support beam fractures, raining shards. Lorena shields her face, shouting, forge shields failing. Eli, we need that activation now. Mira runs to a side console, fingers dancing, rerouting Reactor 3 to reinforce shields. Sparks fly, but energy flows, and exterior blue shields thicken again. At the same moment, loud clangs echo behind her. Boarding pods cut through a bulkhead, doors slamming open. Armored mercenaries leap into the corridor, weapons blazing. Auto turrets fire bright streams back. Mira dives behind a pillar, returns fire, and curses softly. Queen, stay down. 10 mercenaries push forward, forming a wedge. They carry stun grenades meant to capture, not kill. One grenade rolls toward Lorena. She grabs a small energy shield from the wall and throws herself sideways. The grenade bursts in a flash, harmless against the shield's field. Lorena rises, breath quick, but steady. Her jewel-less travel robe drapes like a warrior's cloth now. She snatches a fallen turret pistol and holds it firmly. I protect my people, she mutters. Behind the plinth, Eli's vision breaks into swirling lights. He feels himself drifting in a sea of stars, hearing distant voices of explorers from long ago. They tell him the heart of dawn can renew any failing sun, but only if guided by pure will. Fear, greed, and arrogance will collapse the process. He steadies his thoughts, focusing on kindness, cooperation, and that small cargo pilots. Belief that even ordinary folk can do extraordinary tasks when needed. Status bar. 92%. Mercenaries close in. Myra's ammo counter blinks low. She spots a set of inactive service drones stacked in a side alcove, the same type Eli noticed earlier. With quick steps, she slaps a master switch. The insects unfold, eyes lighting bright green. Protect. The Queen, she orders. Drones were into action, launching small stun needles that send two mercenaries to the floor twitching. Surprise gives Mira space to push forward. At the same moment, Lorena fires careful shots, forcing attackers back. On the flagship, technicians warn Rollin. Forge power spike reaching critical mass. Unknown outcome. Rollin snarls. Retreat beyond blast radius, then circle back. Once they exhaust energy, but it is too late to stop what has begun. Inside, the heart of dawn blazes white gold, illuminating Eli's face with radiant light. The mark on his arm becomes almost transparent, showing woven patterns of stars. Underneath his skin, he feels a final question from the forge. Accept burden? He answers with silent resolves. The sphere leaps from ember to miniature sun, filling the chamber with warmth rather than heat. Energy floods, conduits surging toward an enormous transmission array aimed at the system star. Status bar. 100%. Process locked. The forge shakes but stabilizes as power flows outward. Exterior panels open like flower petals, revealing massive emitters that glow then fire steady. Beams of light toward the distant sun. Watchers on the planet gasp as a brilliant ribbon of energy arcs across space. Astronomers see immediate shifts, solar output climbing, spectral lines stabilizing. Mercenaries freeze, eyes wide inside helmets. Mira takes advantage, subduing the last conscious attacker. Drones secure hallway doors. Leorina lowers her pistol, all replacing fear. She looks up at Eli, still locked to the interface, radiant light swirling gently. He did it, she breathes, but the battle is not ended. The forge's shields flicker one last time, auxiliary reactors strained by the energy discharge. Raylan's flagship lurks beyond, sensors scanning for weakness. Captain Mira sees fresh red pings. They're positioning again, she warns. She reloads her rifle with her last charge pack. We bought hope for the sun, but we still need to leave. Here alive, Eli opens his eyes. They glow faint blue before returning to normal. He steps back, shaky but standing. Heart of Dawn is stable, he says, voice rough, but the forge used most reserves to fire that beam. Shields won't last against a new attack. Lorena places a gentle hand on his shoulder. Then, we must escape and bring word to our people before Rollin twists this victory. Mira nods. Evac route through service tunnels, I'll lead. Sirens echo once again as fresh impacts rattle the station. Lights flicker. Yet the system's star beyond the window shines brighter, golden and strong. Hope has been lit, but survival now hangs on swift action. The trio gathers their strength, ready for one last run toward freedom as forces of ambition close in. Captain Myra led the way through a narrow maintenance tunnel that curved beneath the forge's main spine. Dim guide lights glowed along the floor, blinking amber to show low power. Steel panels vibrated as distant explosions struck the outer. Whole behind her came Queen Lorena, gripping a small handlight and a data case filled with star maps. Eli followed last, still feeling the forge's power drifting through his veins like warm morning sun. He steadied his breathing and kept watch over their rear, stun baton ready. Keep moving, Mira said, voice low but firm. Raylan's crew will try to cut us off near the south tram node. Lorena glanced back. If his flagship falls, his power crumbles, she said. Yet he desires the legend more than victory. Eli managed a thin smile. Legends didn't ask to be collected, he muttered. The tunnel ended at a lift shaft filled with stale air. Cables swayed over the deep drop. Mira checked a panel main. Motors offline. Manual descent, she decided, unclipping a thin line from her belt. Lorena tied herself in, then Eli. One by one, they rappelled down the dark shaft, boots scraping gritty metal. Above them, muffled voices echoed. Mercenaries had found the tunnel opening. Halfway down, a broken beam blocked their path. Sparks crackled where energy arcs licked the metal. Mira reached it first, swung beside the beam, and used her rifle barrel to push a loose conduit aside, giving a narrow gap. "Your turn," she told Lorena. The queen inhaled, then slipped through. Her robe snagged, tearing a strip, but she kept steady. Eli followed, careful not to brush the live conduit. He heard mercenary boots scuff metal above. Shots rang bright. Sparks flying down the shaft. "Faster," Mira urged. They landed on a graded platform leading to a small service tram. The single car lay dormant, paint peeling. Eli leapt into the driver's seat and rewired the ignition with 2 quick twists of cable. Lights flickered on. "Engine's weak, but it'll roll," he said. Mira and Lorena climbed aboard. Eli slammed the throttle. The tram rattled forward along rails curving around the forge's inner edge. Shadows flashed past, exposing wide cracks in the hull where centuries-old plating had crumbled. Through the gaps, they glimpsed Raylan's flagship repositioning outside, its cannons glowing red. Opencom's crackled with his voice. "Stand down, Queen. Surrender the human, and I will spare your world." Lorena ignored the broadcast eyes. Fixed ahead, the tram sped toward the central hangar where their shuttle waited, still clamped by the maintenance drones. But as they neared, 3 armed mercenaries stepped onto the track, rifles raised. Eli cut power, Sparks squealing his brakes. Bit. Mira rolled off the car and fired, forcing the mercenaries to dive. Eli darted right, baton humming, ducked a stun blast, then slid behind a crate, popped up, and threw the baton like a hammer. It hit one mercenary square on the shoulder and dropped him. Lorena, pistol steady, disarmed the second with 2 precise shots to his rifle. The third tried to grab her, but a drone swooped in, shocking him unconscious. "We keep earning allies," Eli laughed, retrieving his baton. Mira motioned them on. Overhead lights flickered and went black, backup power failing. Emergency red. Strobes bathed the bay in bloody glow. Cannons outside hammered again. Deafening crack tore through the ceiling, and debris rained down. The forge groaned like an old beast awakening one last time. Drones unclamped the shuttle as they approached. Eli sprinted up the ramp and moved to the cockpit. Systems warnings flashed, but engines still red-green. Mira sealed the hatch. Lorena, strapped in behind the co-pilot seat, data case secure at her feet. "I'll broadcast the sun's recovery data on all channels," she said. "Our people deserve hope." She toggled transmitters, sending bright data bursts to planetary relays and even Raylan's fleet outside. Some of Raylan's captains hesitated, reading the truth, solar output rising steadily. "Crops and power for centuries ahead," whispers of doubt spread across cum lines. Rawl embarked orders, but hesitation cracked his command like thin ice. Eli powered thrusters. "Hang on." The shuttle lifted, weaving through falling girders. A massive explosion ripped open the bay doors, sucking debris into space. The shuttle shot through the gap, riding the shockwave. Alarms screamed as jagged metal scraped past. Hull plating raw, Len's flagship loomed ahead, turning its main batteries. "He'll try to shred us before the fleet turns on him," Mira warned. "Suggest ion burst. Blind his sensors." Lorena nodded. Eli armed a pair of old warheads the shuttle carried for rescue flares. He modified their charge, aimed, and fired. Bright spheres detonated near the flagship's prow, flooding scans with static. Cannons misaligned, blasts sailing wide. "Course to planet," Lorena ordered. "Palace defenses will cover us." The shuttle accelerated, diving toward the shining sun that was now reborn. Behind them, escort frigates peeled away from Rollin, refusing his command. One frigate even fired on his aft shield, demanding surrender. On open comes, an officer declared, "You attack the saviors of our star." "Stand down!" Raylan's voice cracked with fury. Traitors! But his flagship shields had weakened against the forge's earlier output. A precision shot from the rebellious frigate tore through engines. Fire blossomed in silent space. Escape pods ejected, scattering like seeds. Raylan's ambitions shattered, drifting powerless. Eli glanced at the fading battle. That ended. Faster than I hoped. Mira allowed a rare grin. Truth is strong ammunition. Lorena closed her eyes for a moment, letting a quiet tear slip relief, sorrow, and pride woven together. Atmosphere kissed the shuttle's hull, producing glowing trails. Palace Control hailed them, guiding descent to a landing pad overlooking city canals. Crowds already filled rooftops, cheering as screens showed the sun's brightened disk. Farmers wept, engineers hugged, children waved colored banners. Legends had walked among them and left light in the sky. The shuttle touched down. Guards formed a respectful corridor while citizens gathered beyond railings. Liarina stepped out first. Cheers rolled like thunder. She raised a hand. "Today, your future burns brighter," she said through loudspeakers. "Honor these two who answered our need." She beckoned Eli and Mira forward. Mira bowed her head, uneasy with attention. Eli smiled shyly, lifting his hand in greeting. In the grand square later, council leaders met. They stripped Rollin of all titles and absentia, and pledged unity. The Queen announced a joint task for Salian scientists and human volunteers to study the Heart of Dawn and share its gift with allied worlds. She offered Eli a high advisory role, but he shook his head gently. "I'm a pilot," he said. "Give me a small ship and let me keep helping where I can." Lorena respected his wish, yet bestowed on him the title Star Friend, a name to open every port in her realm. As dusk painted the sky gold, Eli walked the palace gardens with Myra beside him. Birds sang among blooming silver flowers revived by stronger sunlight. "Think the legend ends here?" he asked. Mira chuckled. "Legends never end. They just pause for the next chapter." They watched children chase glowing insects under newly bright stars. Eli touched the crest on his arm. It no longer glowed, but warmth lingered, a reminder of choice, far above. The forge settled into calm operation, its outer panels slowly closing as power levels normalized. Satellites beamed continuous proof of the sun's renewal to every corner of the kingdom. Across the empire, lights switched back on, factories hummed, and night markets reopened, alive with music. Queen Lorena stood on a balcony, feeling gentle evening breeze. She whispered a quiet thank you to explorers long gone who had built the forge into the ordinary human who proved that courage is not born from bloodlines or crowns, but from simple decisions to stand firm when others might turn away. In halls and homes, people retold the story already of the alien queen who dared to trust, the captain who never wavered, and the human of legend who became real. And so the legend grew, not as a tale of power, but as a promise. Whenever darkness returned, hope would rise on the wings of those who chose kindness over fear. Humans, aliens, anyone willing to reach across the unknown and ignite a new dawn.